Hello everybody and welcome, and I hope you're enjoying the spooky music in the background because it is not going anywhere, because today we're going to be doing a tier list of all the Dead by Daylight killers. Now, I want to point out, there are a couple of them I have not played, so we're going to be changing the D tier up a little bit to a have not played version, because it wouldn't be fair to put one of them in a lower tier just because I haven't had the opportunity to play them. I may know how the mechanics work, but until I play them personally, I don't think it's fair to go ahead and rank them in a lower tier just because of that. So, let's go ahead and get started with, first we have Trappy Boy. Now, Trapper, to me, is about a B tier. He's good in just the fact that he can place down traps, and he does have an add-on that makes it so if even disarming the trap still ends up getting you injured. But unfortunately, the hitbox on it basically means the survivors have to walk straight over it to even get any type of effect on it. I've seen a lot of people just be able to finagle their way around it. So for me, he's a solid mid-tier. Bing Bong I'm actually going to put into C tier. His whole thing, in all honesty, is just not being seen. He moves very quickly, which is good. However, once you realize that you're dealing with a Bing Bong, you just kind of start keeping your head on a swivel looking out for those particular shimmers that you see when he's moving around, and once the element of surprise is gone, it's pretty easy to counteract. You can burn him out of his invisible state, you can still pallet stun him like normal. He's okay. Next up, we have the Hillbilly. Hillbilly is fun. I would say probably B tier as well, just because you have to rev up the chainsaw for quite a while. Once the chainsaw is fully revved, it's very, very difficult to actually be able to control it. More often than not, if you're not going in a straight line or don't have plenty of time to turn, there's just no way to be able to get around it. Now, if you want to move from one side of the map to the other, this is your boy. But overall, very difficult. Nurse. That is solely dependent on who is playing the nurse. If it's a good nurse, it's an S tier. If it's a bad nurse, it's an immediate F tier. And I mean that in the kindest way possible. This killer is incredibly difficult to actually be able to control and time out the blinks. However, once you figure it out, she is an absolute monster of a killer to have to go against. There are so many people that DC against this person, it is insane. Next up is Myers, and I would say A tier. He does have a bit of a slow startup, especially if you're dependent on the stealth factor, and he only has that for the tier 1. It does take a while to get everything built up, especially for tier 3 permanent Myers, but overall he's still very solid. Scratch Mirror provides endless jump scares. He has a way to be able to kill you instantly. Like, there's a lot of things in favor for Myers. The only reason that he's not an S tier is honestly simply just because of the fact that the stalk juice, as we call it, can run out. Usually, though, that won't matter. He has a very slow beginning of the game, but late game, he's usually pretty good. Next up is Hag, and honestly, another immediate S tier. The thing is, where she is able to put down the symbols and everything like that, she could be on one end of the map, and because you walked across something, you're there. Now, if you're on a hook or something and you can see her placing down the symbol and you're in a survive with friends, her difficulty does definitely go down. However, a good hag that knows what she's doing will put the thing down just out of sight, but still in a path that is likely to be taken, and she will snatch you up in a second. Next up is the Doctor. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I hate going against the Doctor. But playing him, there is something cathartic about playing against it, or playing as him. I'm gonna put him into A. He is very good at being able to find survivors, especially with the shockwave thing. The main thing that you have to know is that if he is charging up the shockwave, just hop in a locker and it won't do anything to you. He's still a very solid killer. Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I can't think of too much wrong with him, except for the fact that his biggest attack does have a very definite weakness. If you know that he's going to be chasing you, just make sure to pre-drop pallets, and you honestly should be fine. Next up is Huntress, aka Hummy Mummy. I would say also A tier. The main issue that you're going to have, in all honesty, is the hatchets. Because, well, actually, no. The main problem that survivors are going to have is the hatchets, because the hitbox on them is so outrageously large, you should be alright, to be 100% honest with you. She is a good killer. The only thing that prevents her from being into S tier is how small her terror radius is, but the thing is, it's made up for by the fact that you can hear her humming from a mile away, so more often than not, survivors have a pretty good idea to be able to hide. Next up, we have Leatherface, and part of me really wants to put him into C tier, but I can't deny that he is good with the chainsaw swings and everything else. Playing Basement Bubba is also quite a bit of fun, but I mean, overall, it depends on the person that you're going up against. Because if they're bad with the chainsaw swings, like I am, he's an absolute baby. If they're good, he's an absolute monster. Because of that, I'll actually go ahead and bump him up into A tier. Freddy Krueger, C tier. I have no problem with that, simply just due to the fact that the generator, when he's getting ready to teleport to the generator, you have a lot of time to be able to go ahead and react. The sleep thing does kind of suck, but as long as you make sure to avoid the pools of blood, honestly, you're fine. You get woken up when you get placed on a hook. You can also get woken up by the alarm clock. Your friends can do it as well, but again, overall, in my opinion, it's not something that you have to worry about. Pig, I actually have not got to play because I do not own that particular chapter. That is someone that I will likely end up buying soon. So yeah, also, if you haven't yet, make sure to check out my Pokemon by Daylight video series. We actually covered the pig recently. The clown. Next up is the clown, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the clown into B tier. The clown is pretty good at stopping survivors in their tracks, not literally, but at the very least, he does slow them down. The reason that he's not in a higher tier is that sometimes he pulls out a potion that actually makes them go faster. It essentially gives them the adrenaline effects without the healing, and when he does that, you can almost immediately lose him. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen enough to make it so he's not the best of killers. Spirit. Spirit, I'm also going to go ahead and place into B tier, simply just due to the fact that she has a giant whoosh sound whenever she is teleporting. It lets you know that she is coming from a mile away. Again, I understand that they do these things to go ahead and try to balance the game so they don't make the same mistake that they made with somebody like, oh, I don't know, Myers. But it does immediately let you know wherever she is going. She also has a very, rigid body and kind of twitching whenever she's doing it. Overall, not a bad killer, but certainly not the hardest to go up against. Legion. Legion is probably A tier. Simply just due to the fact that Legion matches, it's not it is not a playstyle for me. I have played him a handful of times, and I'm gonna be honest, I am not the biggest fan of fighting against him. However, it's once again one of those things. He is very good at what he do. It just, you have to be very, very patient when you know that you're going to be going up against a Legion, because it is a long battle. Best part is, he's got that music though. Alright, next up we have Vami Mami. Vami Mami is another S tier in my opinion, just because the thing is, she has very good coverage. She can puke on gens, she can puke on hooks, survivors that are fully infected. She is very good at being able to make sure that whoever comes across her is infected, and honestly, she's also just a lot of fun to play as well. I really enjoy this killer and have nothing but good things to say about it. Yes, I'm probably biased, but I do not care. That's what these tier lists are about. Ghostface. As much as I want to give him S tier, actually, I'm gonna give him A tier, because unfortunately with Ghostface, once you kind of catch on to the fact that, oh, I'm facing a Ghostface, you keep your head on a swivel, and without that initial shock factor, I feel like he is someone that is somewhat easy to get around. You just have to keep a very good eye on things. He has a very strong beginning game, especially if you're not in a voice call with friends, but if you are in a voice call with friends and you immediately know what's going on, then yeah. Demogorgon is another one that I haven't played, so can't say much. Oni. Oni is actually pretty good. The thing with Oni is the fact that once he eats enough gummy drops, is that he is able to go ahead and enter the rage mode and everything else, and that will one-shot you, that will destroy pallets on contact. There's actually a lot of positives about it, so yeah, Oni is pretty high up there. Deathslinger. Never played. Pyramid Head. I actually really enjoy Pyramid Head, however, I can also recognize that he is a B tier. It is very difficult to be able to aim the Trail of Torment properly to be able to down a survivor. Also, again, once they know that they are facing a Pyramid Head, there's a lot of ways that you can get around it. His main thing is also just being able to hope that a survivor happens to wander in your Trail of Torment, and if they don't do that, half of your powers are useless, because being able to put a survivor in a cage and send them somewhere else without having to go on a hook is great. However, a competent survivor team can actually get around that quite easily. Droopy Dog, or Blight. Not for me. Personally, the ramming into objects over and over is just so incredibly infuriating for me. I've seen really good killers with it, but overall, I think that Light is kind of easy to get around. You just, in all honesty, you just have to go into an open area and make sure that there's at least just one or two objects around for you to vault over, and he gets stuck on. Twins. Now, this is probably where I'm going to lose a few of you, but I'm actually going to put Twins into S tier. If you know how to control them, the Twins are absolutely terrifying. Victor can hold lockers shut for a short amount of time. If Victor jumps on somebody, they have a giant red beacon on them telling you where to come get them. If Victor is kicked, same thing. If you know how to hide Victor well enough, yes, he does eventually come back to you, because that's who he is as a person, or little gremlin. But if you can hide him well enough as well, you get Victor value of people passing by nearby. Honestly, the Twins are underutilized, and I think that's because people have either A, had a bad experience with them, or B, do not know how to utilize Victor. This was actually the first killer that I started killing with. Next up is Trickster. Trickster I would put at the top of C tier because I'm gonna be honest, aiming those knives are an absolute nightmare. We've seen some pretty good Tricksters, but the problem is that it takes, I want to say 8 knife throws total just to make them enter an injured state. And if you are not Johnny on the spot with being able to hit those and they manage to get away from you, you see your hard work immediately beginning to trickle away. With other killers, if you hit, at least you know that you hit, and yeah, they may have to mend up, but they're probably still going to be injured. Nemesis, I'm going to give another S tier. Nemesis is a killer that, and it definitely depends on the map. The indoor maps with Nemesis and his Zimzoms is incredible. The outdoor maps, not so much. But the thing is, Nemesis is fairly quick for his size. The whip, if you can predict that a survivor's about to drop a pallet, do the whip, you manage to get them and level it up quick enough. And eventually, the whip just starts breaking the pallets. He's a very good killer. Pinhead, haven't had the opportunity to play. I hate going against him. Bird Mom, I would say solid A tier, because the thing is, you do have the crows that you can sit, and if somebody is injured and you hit them with the crows, it will down them. You also get bonus points for when you're going over a window, you do a little hippity hop, and I think that's cute. The main reason that she's not in S is because if you get into a locker and get out of a locker real quick, it does disperse the crows, but overall, she is quite solid. Sadako, I will also give A tier. I know a lot of them are going into A tier, but they do have a lot of killers that are quite good. Sadako is also going into A tier because she can zip across the map without any type of issue whatsoever. The only problem is that there is a cooldown on when you can go back to one that you just teleported to, and also, if the survivor takes the tape, you're out of luck there for a little bit as well. Pretty strong, though. Next up is Dredge, and Dredge is going to be an S tier, because the good news is with Dredge is that whether you are going in and out of lockers or you are just walking across the area, you can play him the exact same way. And also Nightfall is ridiculously overpowered. Now, me personally, I have a little bit of an issue being able to hear him because of the cries going on. It's hard for me to hear the survivors. And if on the survivor's side, it's hard to hear him because of the other cries going on. But overall, he's a very solid killer. Wesky. I'm going to put into B tier. Wesker is good. The only problem is being able to get down the timing of the dash that he do. If you time it right and you know what you're doing, you can very quickly play a stall game of them having to spray themselves off with the Axe deodorant. However, if you can figure out how to outmaneuver him, he does very quickly become a joke. He does have a really cool Mori, though, and the fact that he has the voice lines is also pretty cool. Knight. Knight is going to be S tier because it definitely depends on if you can control how the guards do. The guards can actually do things for you. They also make it very hard for people to be able to continue looping the same area. Now, I know a lot of people use this as an excuse to camp, but that is most certainly not the case. The Knight is actually so good you don't have to. And then, finally, the newest killer and the one that a lot of people hate, the Skull Merchant. And honestly, I gotta put her into S tier because as of right now, she so desperately needs a nerf. The drones can screw your day up. The tracker can screw your day up. The fact that she's got one hell of a hip sway can screw your day up. Honestly, she needs to be somewhat nerfed. You can make people 3-gen themselves quite easy, and then just guard the rest of them. More often than not, entering a match with her means that it is going to be long. Again, just because people have seen the drones, I've had people disconnect against me while playing her. I don't think it's worth it. but she can win a killer match without any perks if she wanted to, because she's honestly that good. But that is another tier list for Tier List Tuesday. I hope you liked it. We're going to go ahead and keep moving forward. As you know, I don't have a job at the moment, but that's okay, because you know what? I have all you guys. If you liked the video, even if you didn't like the video, hit the like and subscribe button, because it really does help me out. And until next time, everybody, peace out.